I'm a furry rapper king. I'm a one badass motherfucker. I'm still a furry rapper king. I'm a one badass motherfucker.
I kid. Clearly that wasn't actual audio. But seeing as how HBO is pretty copyright strike happy, I have to take drastic measures to make sure that they don't, DMCA me, even though my channel is under 150 subscribers and is completely unmonetized. So I went and got the next worst song I could find on YouTube, and I stole it. Thank you, Hip Hop Husky? Oh, for Christ's sake. Welcome back to Is It Worth Watching, a series on YouTube where I watch the first 3 episodes of a TV show, an anime, or a cartoon, and then proceed to tell you whether I think it's worth continuing to watch. Today we're going to be covering Velma, mainly for clout. I know I'm a month late, but I really thought that 90s show would spark some discussion in the comment section. Clearly I was wrong, so I'm doing this now. Mindy Kaling's Velma was a series reboot nobody asked for and nobody was looking forward to, except for YouTubers like myself so we could shit on it. And rightfully so. I wouldn't want a writer or actor from The Office anywhere near my scripts. Well, long story short, it's out on HBO Max, and lo and behold, it's about as funny and self-righteous as Stephen Colbert.
Now, folks, just excuse me a moment. Oh, hi there. I'm just trying out my new Google glasses.
Step 1. Remove the lid. Step 2. Pour the contents of bleach into a glass cup. Remember to choose your favorite bleach to finish the job. You can find it at your local supermarket. Step 3. Consume the contents of the cup. The pain means it's working.
Episode 1 starts off in the worst way possible, with a narration that basically outright says, "Hey target demographic, do you remember watching cartoons when you were younger? Well, I'm here to shit all over those, with identity politics and bad jokes. Segue."
Ugh, this school sucks. I expect nothing, and I'm still let down.
Right off the bat, let's address the animation. It's not bad, it's honestly the only good part of this series. Probably shouldn't say that right after I showed a segment of 2 roaches having intercourse, but what can you do? In this episode, we see Velma establishing herself poorly. She's a loser whose mother went missing 2 years back and blames herself for that. It causes hallucinations and shit, I guess, which makes no sense. Also, one of the popular girls' brain gets removed. The cops think it's Velma, but they are too stupid to solve the crime on their own, so they have her do it. Along the way, we meet Daphne, who is Asian now and also hates Velma, Fred, who is rich, white, and dumb, and Norville, who is a simp for Velma, and also said this:
"I think it has something to do with drugs, which I hate."
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
Well, that's one way to subvert expectations. All they did was have Elliot Rodger and iDubbbz do the fusion dance from Dragon Ball Z and then race swap them.
You're a fucking simp.
Long story short, the killer is Fred, but actually it isn't. Episode 1 was downright horrible. 90% of the jokes were either race jokes or sex jokes, none of which landed. If they weren't unfunny jokes, they were over-the-top fourth wall breaks, which also weren't funny. The sad part is, I can see an interesting, if not generic, mystery series here. A loving mother disappears in the middle of the night. Now it is up to her daughter to put the pieces of the puzzle together to figure out what happens. Sounds like an interesting plot, am I right? Nah, we just get strawmans and poorly timed fourth wall breaks. Velma sucks. She's not likable at all and has no redeeming qualities. Daphne sucks. She's not likable at all and has no redeeming qualities. Fred sucks. He's not likable at all and has no redeeming qualities. Norville sucks. He's not likable at all and has no redeeming qualities. You know, that's not even a joke. None of these characters are likable. None of these characters are anything. Did you not get enough racism, sex jokes, as well as fourth wall breaks? Well, episode 2 has you covered. The worst part of this show is it fails to make any of these funny. It's almost like the writers thought, how can we make this shit the most unfunny swill ever? I won't lie, I barely remember what happened in this episode. That's how forgettable this shit is. Velma sells drugs and Fred has a tiny pee-pee is all I got out of this episode. That, and I guess Velma and Daphne are lesbians now? There's also a court case where Fred's defense is literally he's too stupid to commit a crime. Just like the writers are too stupid to write a good story. Not like it matters, because he's found guilty after flipping shit in the courtroom. The characters don't improve at all, in fact they get worse. Velma is more of a bitch. Daphne is also more of a bitch. Norville's simp levels increase tenfold, and Freddy goes from an oaf to a brainlet. These characters are as cardboard as they come. That said, most of this could be forgiven, if the show was actually funny. The third episode is more about Velma being a lesbian. This isn't really that interesting. Maybe it's because I'm a man, maybe it's because I'm not gay, or perhaps it's because I haven't been given a reason to care about any of these characters. As per usual, we get more misandry jokes that aren't funny. There's a whole-ass women's defense class wrestling tournament thing because men are bad. This episode did manage to actually have one good part. I actually cracked a smile once during this scene.
Okay, riot it is.
They do touch on the whole Velma's mom is missing plot point too, but I just find myself caring less and less about any of this. I'm done. So much of this series was flubbed. You can almost tell what they were trying to do with this, but the writers are incompetent. For instance, let's look at the character Velma. She is probably the worst protagonist I have ever seen. But why is that? Well, she's a bad human being and is completely unlikable. This alienates the audience's relatability, which also hampers enjoyment. The crazy thing is, it's possible to write bad people that are still likable. Let's compare Dan from Dan Versus to Velma. Similar to Velma, Dan is by no means a good person. He's rude, crude, and manipulative. That said, unlike Velma, Dan has wit and charm. Sure, he's a revenge-seeking asshole, but he's so outlandishly portrayed, it's funny. Furthermore, he has synergy with his supporting cast. Velma, on the other hand, is written like a Twitter user. There is absolutely nothing natural about the cast's interaction, and it's just plain old not funny. Finally, let's talk about the elephant in the room, Scooby-Doo. I really don't feel like I should even discuss it because this series is so far separated from the previous incarnations that it is not even recognizable. But I guess I will. The characters are nothing like their previous counterparts. This is already a bad thing, but it's arguably made even worse by the fact that it blatantly mocks them. It really feels like this show was made for a demographic that doesn't exist. This doesn't feel like Scooby-Doo. This doesn't even feel like a reboot. This feels like a shitty mystery drama that was so bad they decided to paint well-known characters on it just so it would get some relevance from a hate mob. And the craziest thing is, it worked. As I was making this video, a second season of Velma was greenlit and is currently being made. I think it's safe to say, you know whether I think this trash is worth watching. This shit isn't even worth hate watching. I wasted an hour and a half of my life viewing this garbage, and I want it back. That said, if you do want an actually good Scooby-Doo series to watch with an overarching mystery plot, I highly suggest Scooby-Doo Mysteries Incorporated. It's easily, to this day, my favorite Scooby-Doo series, and it's definitely better than this trash. As always, feel free to like, subscribe, or cancel me on Twitter. None of this shit matters anyway.